So this is what you need, folks. It's going to require wine bottles, and you know what? I've seen wine bottles used in a garden so amazingly. I mean, it's a recycling. You can take them like this. You can use them as edging, bury them like that in your garden. Here we're going to use it in a concrete feature. The light in the bottles when it does shine through is fantastic because of the colouring, and I'm very excited to be able to use this. So first things first is we need a level surface, and put down some black plastic. It just makes life a hell of a lot easier, and then you're not damaging anything as well. We're going to need some pieces of wood. We've used quite thick wood here. Garth, what is this?
This is a roofing timber, Tanya.
Okay.
It's 152 by 38.
All right.
And it's CCA treated.
So we've cut 4 of these, and the size of these is entirely dependent on how big you want to make the feature. So we're going to show you to make this feature with 8 wine bottles. These are cut in what lengths, Garth?
This is 600.
Uh-huh.
And then you got 2 at 610.
And this is how it goes. We're first going to make the frame. We're simply going to use some wood screws and drill it together to create a framework. So our box has been squared up, nice and secure. Very, very important. Next step is as follows. We've got a bucket of fine river sand. I'm actually just going to pour a bit in here.
Okay.
And what we're wanting to do with this river sand is to put a layer of about 5 centimeters thick across the entire base of the inside of our boxing.
Another thing, you just take your float.
Yeah.
Just give it a nice little tap all the way around.
It's also important because it does compact.
Because when you put your bottles down, if the sand is soft, you can't dig it out.
No,
It's just going to fall in.
100%. Alrighty. Right, next up is when we get to use the wine bottles. Garth, there's a bit in here. Just finish that off, please.
Okay, sure.
Anyway.
I'm on duty.
This is where you get to use your wine bottles now, and this is where you start placing them. You're going to take one wine bottle, and you're going to look at your distance. Work on approximately 5 centimeters if you are following these measurements. But either way, you want a gap of about 5 centimeters on either side. That just gives your structure enough rigidity. And you're just going to place the wine bottle to see how all of them are going to fit in. So just place it gently on here. Garth, that's it. Let's carry on. And also important that you don't have the join at the top. Where this join is over here in your actual bottle, turn it so that you've got a nice clean surface. How's that, Garth?
That's fine.
Perfect. All right. Let's go with the greenie. Important that the lids are kept on, and you're going to realise exactly why the lids need to be kept on in a minute. And then these guys are now going facing inwards, basically in the gaps. And the reason why we haven't pushed them in or anything is so that we can just move them across now to get our final spacing. What is most important is that they're not touching each other here, because we need the concrete that we put in, which is going to fill in the gaps in between here to hold them in place. Okay, now what you're going to do is just create a bit of an indent by firming it down, push the bottle down. Okay, do that with each one. And you're pushing it down so that the neck of the bottle is just above the surface, your base surface. Okay, next up, you're going to need a spoon. Garth, I'm going to let you do the honors. Let's start on this baby here. Okay, you're going to take away the bottle. Where the indent is, look carefully now. Garth is just following the line of where the indent was with the spoon. Because your river sand is wet, it's easier to work with as well. And then scoop that out. Just a little bit, about 1 centimeter. That's the one. And then pop the little guy back in. When you do put it in, make sure that the bottle is at a slight angle, not horizontal. And you can see that literally, because as you're scooping away, you're going to scoop a little bit more and deeper towards the base of the bottle rather than near the neck. So pop it in there. I'm happy with that, at a slight angle. Lovely stuff. Stuck in at the top here. Right, now all of this bit that you've been digging out, like you've been a crab on the beach, you're now going to take that and put a little bit of it, the remains of it basically, underneath the neck of the bottle, and that just gives it a little bit more stability. Once you've filled the rest of the sand that was left underneath the necks, then all you're going to do is take the back end of the spoon, and where you've had some loose river sand, just smooth that down to get a nice even surface. Okay, Right, now what we've got to do is go and get our mixture ready so we can then start with putting that on for the next step in our awesome feature. All right, folks, we're using a very simple mixture here, very little stone, because we don't want this guy to weigh that much. Plus, we're only really holding glass bottles together. So, for this purpose, we are using our scoop as our measure. Now remember, your scoop could also be a spade. It could also be just a trowel. We have got 2 scoops of very small building stone, which is basically a 12 mil. And then we've measured out 4 scoops of fine river sand. And our final ratio is 2 scoops of PPC cement. Then we just mix it all together. How's that, Garth?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Great. Let's add a bit of water to this. Great stuff. And then let's just start mixing it all together. Okay, you'll notice, folks, that this is really runny. And that is what we want. This is like a sloppy yogurt mixture. Garth, I think we're good to go.
That's perfect, Tanya.
Right. Alrighty, Garth.
Okay, Tanya.
Now, folks, I've got the scoop that we were using earlier. It's going to make life much easier because it's a very wet, runny concrete mixture. So, take a bit of this, take a bit of your mixture, and then we're going to start with the necks. And you're literally going to pour in between, just like that. Not all the way to the top, you just want to fill it up about halfway. That is halfway up the necks of the bottle. Okay, let's do that. Okay, now you can either at this point shake a finger or you can use the point of the trowel and you just work your concrete mixture in underneath the neck of the bottle. It's important that we're now getting it as close and as tight underneath this as possible. Now, in between, same thing. So basically, all the negatives, the negative space that you're left with once you put the bottles in is going to be filled with concrete. All right, now, this is the part where I want you to start paying attention. Where the caps are, and you are wondering why on earth we were leaving the ugly caps on the bottle. Well, this is why. Because we're going to be covering the caps so you don't see them. So, when you get to this point now, you want to fill it up to the point where right up to the neck when you cover the cap. So we're going to do that all along to all the others. Once you've done that, just neaten it off, and now you're going to leave it to dry for about 4 to 5 hours. After we've left it for 5 hours, and you can see that it's starting to dry and not being so tacky to the touch, take the spoon that you used once again and start carving on the insides of the bottle. So on either side of the bottle, you're going to start carving away using the spoon to remove some of that drying concrete. Final touches is that you're going to use a sponge just to clean it up. And if, as you're cleaning it, you see that you might want to carve a little bit more just to expose more of the bottle, do so, because you'll be quite safe to make sure that this guy is going to look absolutely gorgeous. Right, folks, we've let this baby dry for 2 days. Now's the time to take off our moulding or our boxing, and let's take a look at what we've got underneath. There we go. And there you have it. Remember, we used the damp river sand, and that is now kind of caked on there. Using just a block brush, so you're going to remove the damp river sand, and then we're going to spray it off for one final look. Yo-ho! Look at this baby! Check at that. Just with a bit of wiping down, using a sponge, spraying off the excess river sand that was on the back, you have an awesome, awesome feature. Yep.